Well, President Donald Trump calls on the Department of Justice to investigate major meatpacker pricing practices. Box beef prices have recently more than doubled, while live cattle prices dropped 20% over the same time frame. Well, Roger McEowen with the Washburn University School of Law joins us now for today's Rural Money segment. And Roger, as always, thanks for your time today. These requests aren't anything new right now. Give us a little background on past investigations into the practices, of course, in the meatpacking industry.
Well, it's good to be with you, Janet, and indeed that's the case. These investigations have been going on since 1888, and at that point in time, that's when the U.S. Senate authorized an investigation into the buying and selling of livestock to determine if anti-competitive practices were present. And we've had various investigations going on since that time, and it led to the passage of ultimately the Packers and Stockyards Act in the early 1920s, because the concern then, from the late 1800s up to today, was that you had just a handful of major packers, 5 at that time, 4 at this time. The names have just changed, but the market concentration is still there. Now, that doesn't mean there are bad things going on or illegal things that are going on. What that means is there's a greater potential when you have highly concentrated buyers to do bad things, and that's what the Department of Justice is investigating.
So if you would, bring us up to speed on the current price manipulation concerns and, of course, the investigation at hand. From what I recall, this was started several months ago.
Yeah, this is a big deal. It really focuses on one aspect of the Packers and Stockyards Act, and that's a provision that, in essence, says, well, not in essence, but it actually says that if a packer does anything to affect price, to negatively affect price or manipulate price or create an anti-competitive position or gain a monopoly position in the market, if what they're doing has the effect of doing those things or resulting in those things, that's a violation of the Packers and Stockyards Act. Well, the question is, how do you interpret that? Does an affected cattleman or other livestock producer just have to show that there was a monopolistic effect on price and that's it? Or does it require you to show that there was an intent to manipulate price? And so far, the courts, starting with the big IBP Tyson, the Pickett case about 16 years ago, they said, you got to show that they had the intent and as well as the effect of manipulating price. And so there have been regulations proposed over time in the Obama administration to reinstate just the effect portion of that. That's good enough. Those didn't make it through, and in fact, the regs have been pulled. And so now we've got a DOJ investigation that focuses on that issue. So we've kind of come full circle the last 20 years on this.
Roger, one more question before we wrap things up. What would you say, is there any lesson to be learned from these previous investigations that we're going to keep in mind now as we move forward through the next month or year?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, of course, what has created the issue right now is virus-related, and the packing plants, as you stated in your open, some of them shut down due to that. But I would just say there's nothing sinister in and of itself about a packing plant having large margins because of an inability of the industry to process the available supply. Those plants didn't shut down because of price manipulation, so to speak. They shut down because the workers were showing up to work sick. Now, if the investigation does reveal that there is price manipulation going on, that's another thing. But just because they shut down, that doesn't necessarily show us there is price manipulation. So it's something that if there's a thorough DOJ investigation, they'll flesh all that out. But there may be, maybe for another story sometime, there are other options producers have, and maybe we can get into that at a later date.
All right. Well, Roger, as always, thank you very much for your insight today. Roger McEowen, he's with Washburn University School of Law, joining us, of course, on the phone today from Topeka, Kansas.